When you have someone in your life that's constantly telling you that this isn't possible, you can't do this, you're going to start to believe it yourself. But then when you have people that are just like, no, that's crazy talk, you can actually become this person if you take the right steps.
All right, we're back. This is the Pencil Kings podcast. I'm very excited to have a female. If you are a female listener and you're doing something kick butt with your art, please do drop me a line because I'd love to interview you and hear what you're doing. We don't have enough females on here. So, if you're sitting at your desk, what I'd like you to do is just clap. I'm not going to clap. I'm going to let you clap. So just clap because we've got a female on the line. Today we're talking with Christina Burton, a fellow Canuck, and somebody that I've met in real life. I haven't met that many guests in real life, so it's cool that we met a couple years ago. So welcome to the call, Christina.
Hey, Mitch. How are you?
I am very good. I think I'm on my 8th cup of coffee, so if I sound hopped up, there's a good reason for it. To start things off, as we usually do, why don't you give people kind of a 1-minute overview of who you are and what you're working on so that we just let people know what kind of art you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me on, and I'm clapping really, really loud. So I'm from Canada, and I've lived in Nova Scotia pretty much my whole entire life, and that's really where I started doing my art. I started drawing when I was 8 years old, and to know about me, you got to know that I'm a swimmer. I have a really strong swimming background, and I actually started drawing when I was on the pool deck getting ready for my races, and that was just something to kind of sidetrack me from the competition. And I actually got a lot of compliments from people saying, oh my God, like you're actually kind of talented. Maybe you should start practicing this a little bit more. So what I started drawing actually a lot of anime. Started off with Pokemon and Sailor Moon, and I actually started selling my pieces from a really young age. People would pay me like $2 to draw them like a Charmander or something like that, which is pretty cool. And I think that was really my first start in how to start selling my art. So, well, that's how I like to think how I started off. But anyhow, so when I hit about 15, 16, I was in high school. I had a really talented art teacher, and she was the one that really encouraged me and motivated me to keep doing my art. Growing up, my family didn't really believe much in, I guess, my talents. I mean, art is not really a job, as they would say. And that was a really hard struggle for me. But I actually stopped for a while doing my art. If you know me, and if you look at my Instagram, Christina Burton Art, you can see that I do a lot of realism, a lot of portraits. And something with that just hooked me. I guess taking a pencil and just trying to really nail that realism and having people look at it and think that it's actually a photo instead of just a drawing. That was always my goal. And the more I've practiced, the better I got. And I think that's with anything that you do in life. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. And a lot of people that I've met that say, like, I can't be an artist. Like, there's no way. You just got to be born with it. And I completely disagree. I think if you just practice, watch tutorials, learn from other people, you can definitely become a good artist. Yeah, and now I'm actually living in sunny California. I actually met my current boyfriend, Alan McKay. He's been on your podcast before, and he's actually a supervisor here in Hollywood doing visual effects, and it's pretty cool. I think we make a really good team. I'm an artist, and he's another artist, but in his own genre. So, yeah, I don't know. Anything else you would like me to add about myself? I don't know.
No. That's a great starting point. So the first question I have to ask, I want to just jump in and ask it immediately, was,
okay. So
you're at the swim meet. How do you draw without all of your stuff getting all soaking wet?
Well, that's the thing. I would always find a corner, whether it wasn't, it would just usually be like in the change room or, again, there's so many people, and it's just really loud too. I mean, if you've gone to a hockey game, soccer game, it's just as loud. And you really just need to visualize and focus, put on your headphones and just zone into something. And I really found that art was a really good way of me just having that relaxation time and letting me focus on the race. So, Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. So you didn't have some kind of space age NASA pencil, no special tools required. But I love that, and it's such great advice, always keep your sketchbook with you so that you're
Yeah.
ready to draw at any
Yeah.
time. And there's really, you can do it anywhere. You just get a nice small little notebook.
Yep.
So I'm really interested in the progression that your career has taken. And you told us that you've been drawing since you're 8. You just fell in love with portraits almost instantly,
Yeah.
right? And you had one art teacher. When you had that influential art teacher, were you already doing portraits, or had you yet to
I like
discover
again,
that love?
I was drawing whatever you go to art class and she's just like, do this paper mache thing or draw the first thing that comes to your mind and it wasn't until I actually had someone sitting in front of me and that we had to draw them very realistic, and it was different for me because when you're working like with a real person sitting in front of me, it's not like working from a photograph. Again, it's just I prefer working from photographs just because I have that still image, but I get a whole different piece of art when I'm actually drawing from a live standing person. So I think, yeah, it just came out really, really good, and she she just really motivated me and mentored me into saying like, look, um, this is an actual job. You could get paid for doing stuff like this, and people want this. People want that personal touch, especially if it's like their daughter or son, even their pets.
Okay, so then you go through high school.
Hmm.
Similar to me, like my folks weren't that encouraging. They didn't
Oh, really?
realize that you could get
Okay.
paid to do art, and they're like, they're just worried about you. They want you to get a, air quotes here, real job that
Yeah.
they understand. They don't understand the creative path. So you're still drawing throughout high school. Did you then go to some kind of post-secondary, or where were you
Well,
at when you
that's the
left high
thing.
school?
When I left high school, again, going back to the whole parent thing, it's like you need to go get a real job. I wanted to go to art school. I actually had an appointment made when I went over there for the Nova Scotia Community College for Fine Arts. And when she actually looked at my portfolio, I had a lot of portraits there, and it wasn't just of people that were still drawn, but people like celebrities. I remember doing a piece of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt and all of them. And I showed her, and she said, "Well, this isn't real art." That's what she told me. So I was really heartbroken because it's just like, okay, well, yeah, it is. It has to be. I mean, hours and hours were spent on these pieces, and I'm trying to do something that makes it come to life. And from what she's telling me, this isn't real art. Maybe it wasn't because it was the school I was applying to was more fine arts, but I think it just really discouraged me. And when my dad said, okay, well, you're not really an artist, that discouraged me too. So I ended up going to military. I ended up joining the military, got a job as a weapons tech, and I just knew it really wasn't for me. My passion was really in my art. And the day that I went to my dad and I just said, look, like, this is what I want to do. I don't, I'm really following this dream of yours. I'm not going to be happy doing it. So, yeah, I'm glad. I'm so happy. It really wasn't until I met Alan, my boyfriend. He was the one that just really pushed me to go forward with it all.
Did you make it through basic training? I know, or I had a few friends who went through the military here in Canada, and I think it's something like 3 or 4 months of, or maybe it's only 2 months of basic
It's
training. But did you
16
make it
weeks
through?
and they have a week zero. So it's actually 17 weeks.
But did you make it through? Like,
Yeah,
did you
yeah,
get?
yeah, yeah. And it's
And how long were
just,
you a weapons tech? How long were you in the military?
uh,
That's
it
fascinating.
wasn't, oh, really? It sounds cool, but it's not that cool. My mom, she's in the Air Force as well. So I think the whole military background was just, that's the way it needed
Okay,
to
I
be.
see.
I don't know. And the funny thing is, too, is that I get my artistic side from my father. So for him, I don't know. It's just like, look, like my grandfather was a really good drawer. He's a really good drawer. I'm a really good drawer. Why don't I go after this?
Okay, so you're doing the military. Well, it's called the military thing,
Hmm.
for a year or so, and then you realize, okay, this
Yeah, it
really
wasn't
isn't for
even quite
me.
a year. I just dropped out. It wasn't for me. I didn't want to do it. And I ended up flying to California.
Oh, okay. All right, so now the timeline's starting to come together. So
Yep.
there was no post-secondary education. You're already very talented as a portrait artist.
Hmm.
You went to an art school and they kind of poo-pooed the work that
Yeah.
you were doing. And I had a similar experience where I went to a graphics school and they just really crapped all over my drawings and I felt discouraged. And I thought, oh, okay, well maybe, I don't know. But then can you tell us a little bit about your process? So the process is you have a photograph and then you do the pencil drawing
Yeah.
and
Well,
how long are you? Okay, go ahead.
yeah, no,
Go
I
ahead
was
from
just
there.
gonna say, like, a lot of people don't believe when you're drawing from a photo that it's not really art per se. I really started the way I started learning how to draw portraits, like to the T, to get that realism effect was actually tracing. I used to trace a lot when I was younger, um, just so that I can know the shapes and get that muscle memory, knowing how the eye is shaped, the nose, the lips. Back then, they didn't really have that many tutorials online that I could find on how to draw good. It was my art teacher in high school that really showed me the tricks of the trade. So for me, struggling with having a person sit in front of me and draw them, I can do it, but there's just something about my art. It just doesn't convey as well. So looking at a photo, and then turning that photo into something that's really unique about it. Really put your own spin on things and like put that artistic twist into it. That's what I love doing. Like if I can create something that's going to be meaningful to somebody instead of just showing a face, have that emotion in there. That's what people are really going to gravitate towards.
Definitely. And just to kind of dispel some myths here, I know that there's a lot of people who aspire to do very detailed, very realistic work, but then they're just not putting in the time
Hmm.
and I'm not talking about the study time. I'm talking about the time to take a piece from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So for a typical piece, and we're just talking not with the artistic effects that you add, but just let's say I gave you a photograph
Hmm.
and I wanted you to do I don't know which scale you're working at normally, but it's fairly large.
Hmm.
How long are you spending on just to get that photograph drawn?
Yeah. Again, I with practice you get faster. That's with anything. So for me, it typically probably take about a week, depending how large the piece is. I've used anything from pencils, charcoals. I've used paints, acrylics, oils. But my specialty again is just with the pencil.
No, 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 just stop there. A week. A week, people. And I'm really guilty at this. I'll sit down with Photoshop and I think, okay, I'm going to paint something really awesome.
Yeah.
And then 45 minutes rolls around and I'm like, oh, I got to do something else.
Yeah.
Well, this sucked, so I'm just going to abandon it.
Well, I can say I still struggle with hair. I hate doing hair. I'm still, I'm still trying to find out good tricks on how to make realistic hair. I've seen drawings. Oh man, I wish I could remember his name now, but it takes him about 172 hours to do a piece on canvas, and he sells them, and it's just like you're looking at a photograph. It's unbelievable, and I really wish, well, that's my goal. I really want to get to that point. Yeah, that like if you think about it, that's about 2 or 3 months of work right there. So just with the pencil, a
Yeah.
lot of patience, that's for sure. But
But I just wanted to start to dispel some myths that people have. Like they spend an hour working on something and then they're expecting somebody to give them feedback.
yeah,
It's not necessarily that you have to take it to this realistic level because that might not be what the individual person is trying to do.
right.
But it's still you still have to give yourself enough time to actually take it to that completed state. And I think it's important for people to realize how much time people are actually spending on this stuff
Yeah.
because you say, well, I'm really good at it, so I'm much faster, and I was expecting you to come back and say, oh, I can do it in 2 hours. No, a week.
Yeah.
So you were drawing, your boyfriend had encouraged you to just go for it. What were you thinking? Like, talk us through this period because I feel like this is actually quite interesting.
Okay.
And I've seen this a lot of times where there's like I believe the term is inflection point where it's sort of like you have a completely different mindset
Hmm.
and it might have taken you a long time to get to that point, but you can literally say there was like a switch that flipped. And I know for me, I said, okay, I'm going to be a video game artist, and a switch flipped and I started working on character art, and then I was just way more serious about it and way more confident,
Hmm.
even though my work may not have shown that at the time,
Yeah.
but mentally it's you can clearly see that I was a different person, that I was kind of messing around and just doing random tutorials and collecting all this knowledge and trying a little bit of things here and there, but never taking things to completion.
Right.
And I just wasn't serious about, but there's this point, like just A and B. So when you're, and it might not have even been when your boyfriend encouraged you or when Alan encouraged you, but when did you make that shift mentally? And can you walk us through that? Because I want more people to realize that it really just comes down to a moment where you say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
then everything is different.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think it was just more confidence I needed in myself to know, like when you have someone in your life that's constantly telling you that this isn't possible, you can't do this, you're going to start to believe it yourself. But then when you have people that are just like, no, that's crazy talk, you can actually become this person if you take the right steps, if you keep working hard and doing it. And I know it sounds so cliche and kind of corny, but it is so, so true. I can't stress that enough. You really have to believe in yourself and just go forward with it. I mean, what really clicked with me was that I was capable of doing it. That's when it clicked. And I actually had people starting to really appreciate my work, and it actually started to sell. Once it started selling my work, that's when I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this actually, I feel good. I feel proud. These pieces are just, I put my heart and soul into these, and people actually like it and they want it to put it up in their homes or wherever. And yeah, I just, again, what clicked for me was knowing that I'm actually capable of doing this.
And was it the first sale, or was it more of a mindset thing that happened
Well, the
before?
first sale is great. It's just like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. But then sale two comes, and then sales three, and then four, and then next thing you know, you're getting 15 sales with 1 week, and you're just like, holy crap! What happens if I get 100 sales in 1 week? What am I gonna do then? And then it's a whole different mindset. You're on a whole different playing level. Yeah, it's just it makes you feel like you're an artist, and you can just go back to everybody and tell them, look, this is what I did, and I can do it, and anyone really can do it. So.
All right. Now, before we started recording, you told me that there was a point where you were doing your drawings and people would look at them and think, well, they couldn't believe that it was a drawing, or they thought it was just a
Mhm.
photograph, but you weren't, and we'll just use this word traction, but if you're
Track.
listening and you're not familiar with the phrase traction, what it means in terms of business or in terms of art, it's when you have that moment when all of a sudden you start to get recognition, people start buying your stuff, or people start
Yeah.
noticing it, and you can really feel it. There's like, okay, I was doing this thing before and it wasn't working so well, but then I tried something a little bit different, and boom, traction.
Yeah.
I just got way more response. And if you're already posting your art online, you can probably go through and look at which piece had a bunch of likes on it compared to something else.
Yeah.
If you've only posted 10 things, you might not be able to see it yet, but eventually you'll have that piece where you're just like, whoa, 300 likes
What
or hearts or
happened?
whatever it is. Yeah, like
Yeah.
something different. Maybe I should do more of this. So that's kind of like the idea of traction. So for you, can you walk us through that point? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who are stuck. They don't know exactly which
Yeah.
direction that they should be going, but it comes from trying something different. And I'd love to hear the story of that period of time.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you asked me this question. It's actually a fun one. Yeah, so with me, I really was just trying to test my audience, my market. I really wanted to find out what they liked. It got to a point where I was actually drawing things that I didn't really have much fun doing. And that for me was a learning curve. I didn't want to be doing something that I didn't enjoy doing. So I automatically stopped and I tried to figure out something else that my audience was really going to love, really, really like. And I've tried so many different things and nothing was really clicking until I actually started making my pieces. I guess the word would be a little bit more artsy fartsy. I really just started playing with messiness, and that instead of having such a beautiful, perfect piece, really just putting like ruining it with like paint splatter or adding some different effects or putting scribbles in there. And just as soon as I started doing that, people were starting to look at my stuff a lot more, just because I was becoming more creative with it. Just with my realism pencil sketches, yeah, that's cool. But again, it's like someone, I don't know, there's really people I feel don't really get that connection with that piece. But when you start putting your own twist on things, I feel people can kind of, I don't know, it's something that's cool It's something that they can actually put on their home and talk about the artist and feel it's like a talking piece, I guess. So, and that's when I started to see that my art was selling a lot more.
Can you talk us through some of the you're doing these experiments and you're doing things that you didn't like. What are some of the things that you didn't like doing?
Oh gosh. Well, if you look at my Instagram, you'll see that there's a lot of fashion illustrations. You can tell that I really like doing the female face, the female figure, a lot of model-esque Vogue kind of stuff. The stuff that and I'm good at it, that's the thing. But when people are asking me if I could draw Alien or, Predator and doing like these creatures, they're cool, but at the same time, it's not me. And yeah, even though I was making really good money doing it as well, it's just if I'm not happy doing, and I'm not saying like you got to be happy with everything that you do. Sometimes you do just got to pay the bills. But yeah, no, my end goal is to actually do something that I know I'm going to wake up every day, be motivated to do, and know that I can do really well at.
So was Alien and Predator, was that somebody had commissioned you
Yeah,
or was that
exactly.
more of a
Exactly.
Oh,
They
okay.
just saw my like the piece that I was referring to that was really messy and just splattered painted was actually I did a piece of Beyonce, and they saw that and they're just like, yeah, can you do me an alien? And I'm just kind of like, all right, well, I don't know how you got alien from that, but sure, like, And sometimes you just got to tell your clients like maybe this isn't this isn't really my genre. And sometimes when you're doing something that's so out of your box, it can really bite you in the butt sometimes.
So I'm just going through your Instagram here. I'm trying to find the alien piece, but it's way down there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really noticed is that your photos have become a lot more, we'll just say professional. Not that they weren't professional
Yeah,
before,
there's more of
but
a
it,
branding to them, right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
feels like it's a lot more curated now than it was. Or there's like bits and pieces in the previous ones, but it's definitely more curated now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's definitely intentional. Can you talk us through that? Because I feel like it's something that you might try to do off the bat, but you might not have found your voice yet. And so you could
Exactly.
be going down a totally wrong path. Can you just talk us through sort of the mental space that you went through when you started to be more intentional about these?
Yeah, I've actually I was actually telling my boyfriend, I was like, you know what, I might just want to start my Instagram over again just because I want to start branding myself. The thing with me, I was just saying I'm an artist. That means that could be anything. So people weren't really taking me seriously, just with what I was trying to do.
But how do you know people don't take you seriously? Because I feel like people don't take me
Really?
seriously. Yeah, I tell them, "Hey, I'm running this art education website for artists."
Yep.
And I can almost feel them rolling their eyes in their head like, "Oh my God, this is the worst idea ever. What is this guy
Yeah.
doing with his life?"
Yeah. No, I completely understand you on that. No, with me, I have a design background too. That's how I was really paying the bills. I was just going in and doing graphic design, logo, branding, websites, stuff like that, and doing some more marketing videos and seeing how when you're an artist, you're a business owner. And when you're a business owner, you really need to start, again, just promoting yourself and what you do, what you sell. So with me, I really had to narrow it down. Okay, what is it that I do? Who am I and what do I want to sell? I don't want to be selling alien pieces. I don't want to be selling, the Predator, monster-esque. I can do it. Maybe that's, something separate I could do on the side. But what I want people to start focusing on is my fashion illustrations. That's what really inspires me. That's who I am as an artist. This is what I really do well. And yeah, as soon as I start narrowing down, and as you can see through my Instagram, how I'm just really starting to market myself, just, adding color, making my Instagram look more visually appealing so that I can get more followers. So yeah, again, I'm still on the learning curve, and I think, I have my goals for the end of the year where I want to be. And I think if you just keep pushing yourself and setting those goals, yeah, it's unlimited as to where you can go.
I know that Alan's a big proponent of setting your yearly goals.
Yeah.
Are you
He's just
um
getting me started, and I completely agree with him. If you look at any person who's not famous, but who's done well, entrepreneurs, just anyone who's very successful, that they have I guess, a guide or a goal sheet that they follow by. People who don't write down their goals and their aspirations and as to where they want to be, they don't get there. You have to physically write it down, read it and see it and know where you're headed.
Well, I was going to ask, are you comfortable to share them? I know we're by the time this podcast comes out, it will be the end of the year. We'll be into 2017.
Yeah,
But could you tell us some of your goals, and maybe we can do a follow up and see
where I'm
what came
at.
true? Because we're at right now at the beginning of November, so you got about 2 months. What do you want to achieve? And I feel like talking about this stuff is important because there can be people when you share your goals that can help you along the way that you don't know who they are.
Mhm.
And I feel like also when you say it out loud, it gives it a little bit more power. But I also
Yeah.
know that some goals are personal and you may not want to share them. So I'm going to leave it up to you. But if you are willing, I'd love to hear some of your goals because I feel like there'll be a lot of people who can connect with your artwork and wanting to do portraits and start to find their own voice
Yeah.
and start to work in their own style. So what's up for you for the next 2 months?
Well, my next 2 months, I really want to start getting on different platforms. I want to know, because with me, I just sell my art right now on one place only. And I really need to start figuring out, if I go on different sites, more so than just Pinterest and Instagram, if I start going on Art of America, there's just so many different platforms that you can go on and just find a new audience. Again, Facebook and Instagram can help you with that. But I think once I start putting myself on different platforms, I'm definitely going to get more followers and I'm definitely going to get more sales, which is always a bonus. Yeah, let me just see here. Another goal that I have set for myself is just really networking, I guess, with other people, not being shy, and just finding people who really have the same interests as you, and just sending them a message, making that connection, and saying, "Hey, how are you? I see that you did this really cool, awesome piece of this high heel shoe that I absolutely love. I would love to know more about how you work. Maybe we can meet up for coffee sometime." So again, networking, actually reaching out to people. I've really found like when you talk to people, they have more followers that they can recommend you to, and just building that. So again, another goal of mine is to actually build my following, and my following right now, I want to get up to 3,000. So right now it's almost close at to 1,500. So if I can get to 3,000 by the end of this year, I would be super happy.
And how do you do that? Is it just sending the messages out to people? I've started playing with Instagram. I've interviewed a few people
Yep.
and about how they do their Instagram and grow their following as an
One
artist.
trick that I knew, like I hate people that abuse it, that people will just, like for like, no, that does not work. Don't do that. Be genuine. What I find that helps me is when I look at my hashtags and I go to a hashtag, just say it's fashion illustrator. And I look at everyone who's posted in this sort of genre, and I look for posts that I actually like. And yes, it's a bit time consuming, but if you take just say an hour of your day and just do this, you're definitely going to increase in followers. And if you think about it, an hour a day, 5 days a week, that's 5 hours. And just for me, just doing this for an hour, I probably get up to 5 to 10 followers a day. So it's worked out really well for me so far.
Nice. I keep hearing that of that advice of, and I'll just say it here again, is being genuine, really looking at the hashtags, and then also doing the outreach. Like if somebody follows you and you check them out and you really like their piece, like definitely take the time
Yeah.
that it's worth it.
Yeah.
It
And
makes
if you don't like their stuff, then don't follow them. That's when I first started Instagram. I was like following everybody that liked my stuff. Definitely don't do that, because then your feed is not going to be what you're interested in, what you're looking for. So yeah, just make sure whoever you're following, it's someone that you really look up to or that inspires you or you just really like their stuff.
All right, so before we finish, one last question. What advice would you give to somebody who, let's say they've been working on their portraits, they
Hmm.
don't really feel like their portraits are good enough,
Hmm.
and they probably aren't spending enough time to really take something to completion, and it could be that there's some kind of element of fear
Yep.
that you don't want to spend 40 hours on a piece because you're like, oh, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. So it's almost like you're stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
Like this sort of like this, I don't know if beginner loop is the right word here, but you're sort of stuck like this record that's skipping a beat. And because you're not putting in the time to really make that breakthrough piece that will give you a lot of confidence that you can show people, even if it's only one, right?
Yeah.
You got to do one before you can do two. So what advice would you give to somebody who's stuck on this loop and they just keep skipping a beat and they're like, it's not good enough. And they maybe spend 4 hours or 5 hours, maybe even they spend a day, but they don't spend enough time to really take it to that next level. And then they think, I'm no good. I'm going to go back and watch tutorials and start a new piece.
Yeah.
And they just continue on this hamster wheel of never really getting anything done that's worth showing.
Well, a goal, again, setting those goals. If you have that goal, like no matter what, because I get like that too. I work on a piece and I get maybe halfway done and I'm just like, oh my God, there's so much more work left to do on this. I just don't have the motivation to actually really want to do it. But again, I'll look at my schedule, I'll look at my goal list, and it's a goal. I have to finish this piece no matter what. Again, having that fear, like that you mentioned, is a big setback. Maybe fear of what people might think of it. Maybe it's no good. Maybe I put all this time and effort and it's just not worth it. Trust me, in the end, it's going to be worth it. No matter, like, all my pieces aren't great, but I still share them. And the thing is, people are still going to like it. People see an artist putting their heart and soul into something, showing their progress. People like seeing that stuff. Really. I find I get a lot of feedback, and it just inspires me to do the next thing. And maybe, if I screw up the first time, I'm just going to try it again because, again, I want to set that goal of saying, okay, this wasn't my best, but I know I can do better. And I just go ahead and I just do that. And as soon as I set that goal, I feel awesome. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
All right. So where can people find you online? We talked about Instagram. Where else are you?
If you want to,
what are the main channels?
If you want to visit my Etsy page, it's ChristinaBurtonArt.etsy.com. You can go to my Instagram. Again, that's Christina Burton Art. And right now I'm still working on my website, but as soon as that's up and running, I'm going to be posting it right there on my Instagram. You'll be able to follow me there.
Perfect. And will that be at ChristinaBurton.com, or do you have the domain name for it yet?
My website is going to be Christina-art.com.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And as usual, we'll have links to all this good stuff over at pencilkings.com/podcast. So I wish you all the best, Christina, and I hope I can follow up with you in about 6 months or a year and just see where things are at.
I'm excited. I want to see if I meet those goals or not. So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast, and wish you all the best.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Scope demands patience, skill, years of practice.
You talk like a fool. I would trade a century of practice for an ounce of inspiration.